So, with your skills and everything you've been involved in, you could be involved in many movements, which you are. Why ACT UP? I mean, I know you've already kind of talked about this, but why ACT UP?
Well, like I said, you know, the idea that people who are unwell would be discriminated. I mean, for me, that is just unconscionable, actually. It really is.
The people who are unwell were targeted.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's completely crass and disgusting. I mean, you know, you wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? When you walk down the street and you see an old person who needs help across the road, you don't start giving them help.
Yeah.
You don't start telling them off or something.
Yeah.
Or a child who's whatever they're doing. You know, if you see vulnerability, the response should be to want to care and to help, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or something.
Basic,
you know?
isn't it? It's basic.
It seems really obvious to me, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also, of course, there was a connection here, which was the injection drug using community. And, like, we ourselves had never had, you know, like HIV, I know I say this all the time, but it probably doesn't make sense to some people, but for us it was a kind of silver lining.
Yeah.
Because for the first
HIV
time,
was?
in this country, right,
Yeah.
let me just try and focus on England, it was a silver lining in that, you know, suddenly needle exchange was not something we had to make for ourselves. We didn't have to go stealing clean needles from the back rooms of hospitals. We didn't have to sort of, you know, make up silly stories like I used to at the pharmacy for why I needed a clean needle. I used to tell the most ridiculous stories. And, you know, some of these pharmacists must have known, you know, I was an addict and I needed, like, what I needed. Like, they must have known. And some of them was totally stupid and wouldn't even sell them, you know, never mind give them away. So really, you know, it sounds like a terrible thing to say in a way, but it is the truth. You know, and for a small window of time as well, the prescribing of methadone and heroin and other drugs became much more liberal.
Yeah.
Because there was this whole period of time where the doctors didn't know what to do. And they were all freaking out. And there were all these drugs flowing, and then, you know, they all calmed down a bit once they got, you know, then you understood it better. So, you know, because, like, every other time in history that we know about is that we would be accused of being manipulative. Like, if we said we needed 10 mils or more of methadone or whatever, it's like, oh, you're being manipulative and dishonest and blah, 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 blah. But now, we were just getting it because they knew we were ill and they had to do something that was less punitive, basically. That said, the bloody rehabs didn't, but the doctors did anyway, so that's something.
Oh, wow. So number 3. In 2000, imagine it's 2069.
Yeah.
So Millie's 11. How old will she be then?
52.
Okay. In 2069, Millie will be 62.
Or whatever. Old.
About your age. About your age.
Yeah.
What do you hope life will be like for her? What do you think? What do you hope life will be like for her and the?
Well, I hope that we turn around the environmental damage that is really escalating terribly at the moment, so that she can live here. Because to be quite honest, right now that's my first thought when you ask that question.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I really can't imagine it because we're already, aren't we, talking to robots all the time. We don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that the world becomes less automated, actually.
Yeah.
To be, you know, so that people, you know, that. Oh, it's so difficult.
It's a great answer, though. World becomes less automated. Yeah.
And people realise how important community is. So, you know, because there are people, aren't there? There are always, whether they're called alternative communities or, you know, they're marginalised communities or whatever they are, there are always people trying to build community, aren't there, that may not be part of the status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so for some reason or other they feel outside of it all and they build community of their own, and that is critical, I think, to people's survival.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say, really.
No.
I mean, I hope that she... to be honest, it's really difficult to project that far ahead, especially now. You know, like, this is a historical moment. We've just been told by the IPCC that if we don't turn it around, with climate change,
Yeah.
there may not be the possibility of human beings being comfortable on the planet in 2069. So it's quite a hard question.
Mm.
You know, I feel scared more than anything. But, I don't know, human beings... And also, well, one is we don't know for certain that that's, you know, that's fear, maybe. But it's not looking good, is it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so, you know, I just hope that she's going to find a way to navigate all of that, and she becomes part of the resistance movement to actually help people out, you know.
Yeah, we've done a great job so far.
Well, let's keep the fingers crossed.
Yeah, and we're all there for Millie. Does she have good parents?
Yeah.
She's got about another 100 every week at the moment. Like, we all love her and we'll all be there for her.
Yeah.
So you're in a bar in 1969,
Right.
and the two women sitting next to you introduce themselves as Sylvia Riveria and Marsha P. Johnson.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
what do you do? And all say to them,
Do you want a drink?
yeah.
Would you like a drink? You know, you've got to get in there somehow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And tell them a bit, you know, just socialise. Well, you're talking about, like, a very social situation, is it?
Yeah, very so. And they don't know,
Yeah.
you know, they're soon to throw that brick at the police in the Stonewall Inn.
Right.
They don't know the ripple effects of that.
Yeah.
But you do.
Yeah.
What would you say to them coming back from the
Oh, I
future?
see. So I'm aware of what
You
is
know
about
what-
to happen.
Yeah, you're aware, and you're aware what that led to. And of course, when with the Gay Liberation Front, you went to their meeting, our meeting the other week.
Yeah.
Their aim wasn't queer freedom for all, there was absolute freedom for everyone,
Yeah.
but coming from a queer
Well,
family.
I'd be a bit awestruck, wouldn't I? I mean, I don't know about you, but when you meet somebody like that, you get a bit, don't you?
But
You
people will
don't-
say that about you in 50 years' time. They will.
Oh, that's crazy. Anyway, yeah, I would be like, wow, you did that. You know, you instigated something that has really, you know, it's changed history, hasn't
But
it?
they
The way
just
that
thought
we
they were
will
changing it.
live.
It was survival for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be what I'd want to say. And I just really want to know what gave them the courage.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, because a lot of people don't want to be on the front line of I mean, it's hard being an activist sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like, why would you want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be constantly judged or brutalised?
Yeah.
You know, it's quite a, you know, so I would be very grateful, and I'd be very, I don't know, I'd probably want to ask a million different questions.
Yeah, be curious.
You know,
yeah.
all the details. Yeah, absolutely.
Should we be prepared to die for the struggle against all oppressions, like
Yeah.
Marsha and Sylvia?
Yeah. Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why?
I think so, because in the end, you know, it seems to me that there's been very little major change without those kinds of incidences.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, HIV is actually a very, very good example. It took thousands of deaths of largely gay men and junkies around the world, or whoever, for people to really make some serious moves and changes.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning, you know, authorities had to be pushed into it.
Yeah.
You know, so it seems that the human condition is not always. I mean, you know, I want to say that we're all really good, essentially, all the time, but I think that because we're very fear-driven as well as love-driven, people stall and balk at various things, you know, based on what their backgrounds are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What was the question again?
No, this is brilliant. Should we be prepared to die
Oh,
for the
yeah.
struggle?
I think it seems to me that there's no other way, really, ultimately. I don't know, should we be prepared to die? I don't suppose everyone should be. You know what I mean? It's not for... That's the other thing, Dan. It's not for me to say to you or any other activist, you should be prepared to die. But I think for myself,
Yeah.
I have certainly felt that way a lot.
Yeah.
And particularly around HIV and drug policy reform.
Yeah.
Because I can see that, you know, in fact, anything where, it's like what I've found out over the years, Dan, is the more you know. I mean, for example, when I first got involved with drug policy reform, all I knew was that the lack of access to clean needles was killing injection drugs. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And then I started, travelling around from conference to conference and realised that people were literally being locked up for decades for, like one joint, depending on what part of the world they were in. You know what I mean? And it was like,
you look what's going on in the Philippines now.
it's like absolutely.
Yeah.
If we were there now, we'd probably all be shot.
In the Philippines?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we would be.
Yeah, and it's like, so you look at all these different people and think, God, why are they being harmed? What, it's so difficult to, and you have to, I mean, this was always my struggle in the early days. I suppose partly the thing about age is you literally ain't got the energy for the sort of constant, like I was always like in this, how can they do this? And I was always like frozen with my rage, right?
Yeah.
But, now I get, like you said earlier about your family situation, is that people are who they are. And you can't, if you try and, force people into, it's like, you can't force somebody to stop using drugs.
Yeah.
You can't force people to think or be something. You have to kind of gently, slowly monkey, don't you?
Yeah. And just
And
role
then
model it yourself.
Yeah. And just be your, absolutely. So,
It scares the shit out of them.
well, it is scary. And that's the problem, isn't it? So, I mean, like, I think probably more than any other work that I've done, I learned in drug policy reform that you just, especially because there's so much emotion around, dead children, so many people who've overdosed or died of HIV or hepatitis, the parents can get very anti-drugs without thinking twice of the detail of it all. You have to so meet them where they're at. That's what you said, isn't it? And that's so important.
Amazing, thank you.